stars who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Almost live from Hollywood Boulevard in sunny California. It's the Wow Report. I am Tom Campbell, the Chief Creative Officer at World of Wonder. Joining me this week and every week is Club Kid turned best-selling author James St. James.
What? At the crack of dawn, here we are. Oh, my God.
And Fenton, our fearless leader, is unable to join us today, but filling his shoes and his seat is the wonderful John Pauly, one of the twisted minds behind RuPaul's Drag Race.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, John.
One of the handsomest men at World of Wonder. Oh, my God.
James thinks he might be stealing our focus by wearing a very
because the people who are watching this on video,
right.
Tom and I are doing like a slimming black thing that sort of like blends in, and all of a sudden John wanders in this like bright red Hawaiian print
I'm
shirt.
going to like a garden cocktail party fundraiser thing after work today, and with like lots of loud, obnoxious people. So
yeah, it's a good excuse.
Yeah.
Great.
We're here this week and every week to count down the top 10 things that made us go wow. You can listen to us right as you are on Radio Andy, or you can watch us at the YouTube Wow Presents, which we have a link to you at worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy.
There you go.
Without further ado, what do we have at number 10?
Number 10.
It's you.
I'm just throwing to me. Hi. I saw a movie that I loved so much this past weekend. I knew nothing about it going into it, and I'm afraid if I talk about it to you guys, I'll spoil the experience. But who cares? I saw The Big Sick.
I've seen the trailers.
Okay.
And it doesn't look all that fascinating to me. It doesn't look that interesting. Tell me why I need to see it.
Have you seen the trailer?
I've seen the trailer, but I stopped watching the trailer because I was afraid of spoiling the movie for me. Is that crazy?
I hadn't seen the trailer. I knew it was, and I'm terrible with names, Kamal Nanjiani, who is this amazing Pakistani actor. We know him mostly from Silicon Valley. He's a comedian. He's dry. He's funny.
We love him, yeah.
Yes. It's directed by Michael Showalter, who is from The State, MTV way back. He's a really funny guy, and most recently did Hello, My Name is Doris, that Sally Field movie. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, okay,
Which was
sure.
so sweet. This director seems to have this, and it's a Judd Apatow production.
Well, right there, I'm drawn in. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And Michael Showalter has sort of perfected the new rom-com. He takes the very traditional rom-com, beats.
Structure, yeah.
But we don't have Jennifer Aniston or Kate Hudson or J-Lo in it. We have Sally Fields, a 60-year-old woman who's in love with a 30-year-old guy in Hello, My Name is Doris. In this case, it's a story which is about a Pakistani Muslim man who falls in love with a, I want to say shitska, but that's wrong. But and the actress Zoe Kazan.
Oh, is she Lainey Kazan's granddaughter?
No, I love that. She's Elia Kazan's. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
A Street Company, the director. She's his granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
And
Kazan.
her parents are Nicholas Kazan, who wrote Francis and Reversal of Fortune, things of that
Okay.
nature. Mother Robin Zwycord, who wrote Benjamin Button and Memories of, no pedigree whatsoever.
Underachievers, all. Underachievers.
But it's this amazing love story. People are complaining that it's a little bit like an episode or a season arc on Masters of None, because it's about someone who is from a different culture, who falls in love with a girl he's not supposed to fall in love
But
with.
that's every Hollywood story ever.
And it's the immigrant story, and you know what? So there's two of them. We have 90,000 white people falling in love, cute stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it takes a turn. It's very funny.
Well, it takes a turn because it says it right there in the title,
The Big
right?
Sick. I didn't know. I thought it was something like, "Hey, it's the Big Sick. Get down." I had no idea.
Oh,
Let's
obviously
Sickening.
somebody's going to get
did not
sick. Am I right?
It takes, but it's one of those love stories where you have to fall in love with the leading lady, and Zoe Kazan is so lovable, has this smile that lights up the screen. It's one of those remarkable performances. And
Do you sort of fall in love with him too a little? Yeah,
you do, but
yeah.
and he's so dry and so awkward, but it's all it's so beautifully played. I don't know. I just fell in love with them. I fell in love with the truth. You know how Judd Apatow, even like Bridesmaids, like they just milk every scene. It's kind of long.
Yeah.
I love that. And in this case, there's not only humor to be mined, there's also heartbreak. So halfway through the movie, without giving too much away, Holly Hunter and Ray Romano show up, and they play a married couple, and they have some of the most funny. Holly Hunter is so intense. Holly Hunter, I forget until you see her again how incredible,
you love her
how intense
always.
she is, how beautiful she is, how thin and preserved she is. Good work if she said work. Yeah. And Ray Romano, they play a married couple, and they have some of the funniest, most intense, most.
Who are they?
They're the parents of the beautiful Zoe Kazan.
Okay.
And there might be a sick thing that happens to her, a big sick thing, and so they come into town.
What a surprise! Comes out of nowhere.
But they have this amazing thing. I had the feels, John Hill, hello, all the way through the movie. I was teary-eyed. I was laughing. I just got sucked in. So, and it was screened at Sundance. Amazon bought it, and it's in limited release right now. But it's about to go into wide release starting July 7th. And
and the audience was right there the whole time. Did they cry and laugh and clap? And
it was really crowded. It was the middle of the day. I went by myself.
Oh,
yeah, I know. And no, but I like that sometimes. And I didn't know much. I just bolted out of I didn't want to read too much. And so I went and I loved it. And I think everyone should see The Big Sick. I'm not going to give you any more details because I want you to see it and enjoy it and report back here.
I like it. It sounds like that. It reminds me of that movie that Julia Louis-Dreyfus and James Gandolfini were in, and she was the masseuse, and it was their weird middle. It was because it was this quiet, unexpected, charming, smart film about two adult people in a relationship.
Rom-com, but
yes,
but with characters you don't normally see.
Yeah, and like real life problems. Like she drove a crappy car, and she was a masseuse and had to lug a yoga table up into people's houses. And she's like, "Does no one ever help me?" And like, it was out of nowhere and just kind of subtle, and like it sounds similar to that in that sort of like charming way. And a movie we need in the middle of.
But it's going to be a big movie. I have a feeling it's going to be a big summer kind of the relation. It's the Annie Hall of the summer.
Wow, you're really selling it.
Yeah. It has that kind of impact to me. It's going to be sort of a bit of a cultural phenomenon.
Okay, I'm always there for Judd Apatow. I mean, like he really is like almost all of his movies. When you think of like what was the one with Chris Pratt a few years ago where he was the 5-year engagement or something like that, which didn't get any press and really but I went to go see it and I was completely drawn in the entire time and I loved every second of it. I really do. I mean, almost everything he does, I'm right there. So.
All right, when The Big Sick comes to your city, watch it. That's the plug. And now it's time to go on to number 9, James St. James.
Number 9.
Number 9, James St. James. I'm doing a boy band on ABC. Have you guys all been watching it?
I taped it. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, I should have known.
I started watching clips online yesterday. There's like 37 boys, and there was a lot to see.
Exactly. Okay, what it is they're looking for the next big boy band, right? It's because One Direction is over, and bands like the Vamps and 5 Seconds of Summer really haven't taken off, and so there's a vacuum.
There's a cultural need.
There's a cultural vacuum that's created, and we need to fill it with a boy band. And this is Rita Ora hosts, who
when in doubt, get
Rita Ora, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows who she is or what she does, but she seems to be everywhere.
All right,
right? Okay.
I'm all right.
The judges are Timbaland, who knows his stuff. Emma Bunting, Baby Spice, who if she's. We'll get into this, but we'll talk in a second. The other is Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys, right? Okay, so we've got this really great judging group who knows their boy band stuff, right? And you have, like I said, 37 boys who are trying out for these boy bands. They're creating 3 boy bands, and then they're going to whittle it down to 1. Is sort of the premise. Okay. So very quickly, you realize the problem that's going to happen here, okay? And you're watching it, and I'm starting to think like, oh, this is everything that I want. It's hot boys. It's like, I get to sit here and like bubblegum pop.
Bubblegum music.
It's just everything that I want. It's going to take me back to my teen years, right? Well, this first boy comes up. His name is Chance Perez, and he looks like a little anime, like Disney prince.
It's a good name.
Yeah. He's adorable, and he's got these big, gooey brown cow eyes, and and he starts singing, and he sings like an angel. And Emma Bunting starts rolling around on the desk like she's in heat, right? She's just squealing and oohing and ahhing, and Rita Ora is over there going, ah, like this. And he's 17 years old, right? And Emma Bunting, bless her heart, she's not Baby Spice anymore. She's 45 if she's a day. And you start to think to yourself, there's something a little wrong with this. Afterwards, after he sings, they're like drenched in like, sweat, and they say, we need a selfie. And they run over and take a selfie with a 17-year-old boy, and they're like pawing him, right? And you start to think, I don't know. Maybe it's a little. Maybe, and I'm sitting there like all sweaty in my room, and I'm feeling like maybe I shouldn't. I'm 50 years old. Maybe this is a little creepy of me to do. The next guy comes up. He's 21. His name is Cameron something or other. It's another boy bandy name, and he's got these big muscles, and he's like, "You're ready for the gun show, ladies." And Rita's like, "Oh!" And she's like, all on, and it just feels wrong, and you start to think to yourself, if these were like 17-year-old girls and the judges were these 45, 50-year-old men,
this is a breakthrough for you.
It really is. It really is. All of a sudden, I just had one of these come to Jesus moments where I kept thinking, like, is it wrong that I'm like sitting here like melting over these pre-adult boys?
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say that what the judges are doing is they're like, acting out, they're like amping up their like fake praise and sexual response as a way to like, here's what you have to deal with, young man. People coming at you for selfies and women screaming at you.
No,
it wasn't like meta, or it wasn't some sort of like weird exercise
and
like
Timbaland, bless his heart, is there for, he's doing the, it was a little pitchy, and you got to work on, loosen up your moves, and Nick Carter jumps out there and teaches them how to do the boy band shuffle and things like that, and they're doing, but it feels like, it just feels wrong to like sexualize these kids in a way that we've been doing for 40, 50 years. Start going back to Leif Garrett and Sean Cassidy and all, all these boys and everything. But when you're 14 years old, it feels okay to do it. But all of a sudden when you're 50, I'm beginning to see what's wrong with the music industry sexualizing young people. And I never thought that I would get to that point in my life where I see it, and I've just had
oh my god!
And this is episode 1.
This is the first 10 minutes.
Sounds like you're in for the whole series, James.
Yeah. I don't know. I just walked away feeling so disgusted with myself.
Did you feel like there was real talent there?
No, there's undeniable talent. Just like there is, like even like when you think of the Monkees, or they go back to the original Fab Five, Beatles, and and they give you like a little history of boy bands going through, Backstreet Boys and singing everything. And I do have to say that I have an interest in this, because I don't know if I've told you this or not, but I discovered NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
Boing.
I was in Germany before they came. Before they broke in America, they test marketed it in Berlin, and I was in Berlin at the time. And I came back to America. I had gone to a German music store and said, "I must have these boys." And I got the CDs and I brought them back to America and made everybody listen to it.
This is like one of those flashback scenes in Transparent where they go back to Weimar, Germany, and there you are.
It was 1997. I was there in Germany, and before they came to America, I was showing everybody these boys. So I am responsible for their popularity in America. So I have like an interest in boy bands that goes way back. I've always been a boy band aficionado, but all of a sudden I'm feeling like that it's my time is.
Well, I have
on.
it on my DVR, and I might watch it.
No, you just give it a shot and just see if you guys feel like I do, because like all of a sudden as a 50-year-old gay man, I felt like my time is past for the boy band.
For those of you listening, you can watch Boy Band Thursdays at 8 p.m. on ABC. So, John Pauly, let's move on to number 8.
Number 8.
Well, speaking of, as someone in his late 40s obsessed with adolescent culture, I discovered on Netflix the latest retelling of Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Anne with an E, and it's charming, and it's beautiful, and there's 7 episodes. I haven't seen the last one. I've seen all up to the end.
No, wait, were you an Anne of Green Gables fan when you were a child?
I never read the books, because...
time with television.
I was too. I did read I was too busy reading Nancy Drew, and then I was like, I'm done. But they had the TV version when I was a kid, or when I was in my 20s or whatever, of like with Colleen Dewhurst, as like Aunt Marilla or whatever, and Megan Follows, I think was the woman's name, and they kept making it more and more and more and more. And of course, Colleen Dewhurst was just riveting because she's so stern and like no makeup and Anyway, this new version, it's very good. It's beautifully made.
Has it been Sofia Coppola? Has it been
a little bit
kind of like modernized?
A little bit. Because Vanity Fair, I read this piece yesterday, and they were just kind of like, we're not in for this new version. It's too dark. It gets too like
I've heard.
They hit like the misogyny on the nose. They hit like all the big like stories, like the boys are mean, and like she's an orphan and her life was rough, but it's still riveting TV. I loved it. And the girl who's playing Anne, whose name is Amy Beth McNulty, is like this goofy-looking, big-eared, big-eyed girl who's an amazing actress. And just it's shot in like Nova Scotia. It's snowy on this, wintry autumnal island. Everything's gorgeous. The little boy playing Gilbert Blythe, who's like the teen heartthrob in the show, was the kid from 20th Century Women. Annette Bening's son.
Oh,
in that movie with like Elle Fanning and like Greta Gerwig. He's great. But it's just and every like the farmhouses they live in. It's like, oh my god, I want to live there because it's also like rustic. It's like some Brooklyn exploded in some kind of bespoke rustic, amazing farmhouse, like wet dream. But it's riveting, and it's just these stories are being beautifully told. So I'm in. I highly encourage it. And like there's a old lady who comes to stay with a friend's family, and I think it apparently hits all the stories in the books. I mean, there's a whole series of books. So yes, it's doing its job, and the little girls get drunk on currant wine, and that's a big moment in their story. And like the crushing on the boy, and somebody gets a chalkboard slate bashed on his head because she's an empowered young girl, and she's like, screw you, boom. Anyway, but there's an old lady friend who stays with another family, and everyone hates her, and she's mean and stodgy, and you find out, of course, she's there because she's grieving over her lost companion, the woman she lived with. And Anne of Green Gables.
The Boston marriage.
Yes, and Anne is like, and Anne being independent and thinks she's like this little firebrand, she's like, telling the older lady, she's like, well, I think you and I understand each other. We're not the marrying kind. And the older lady who's grieving says, well, darling, actually I was. Like, we had a marriage of our own. And, and we would have lived together for years.
Which is very shocking when the books came out, I'm sure.
Yes, and it's handled so beautifully. So I say if you love, like, costume drama, it's kind of, it's like tales you might, it's very like Little House on the Prairie, that spirited young woman.
Well, it's interesting you should say that because just last week I watched Pollyanna, the Disney movie with Haley Mills, remember?
Yes.
And Jane Wyman, I believe. And it's a little bit of the same story where it's a plucky young orphan girl and she goes to live with a family and it's set in a certain time period.
Yes.
And I love those movies. I think that's absolutely fantastic. But I was a little worried about this Anne of Green Gables because I loved the old Anne of Green Gables when I was a child. I read the books and I was very gay.
Watch and see.
Yeah.
But
they heard that this was sort of like a darker take on it, and it was a little more grittier than I want out of my Anne of Green Gables.
All right. Well, Anne with an E is currently streaming on Netflix, and I think the extra E is for extra P. Just a little reference for people who don't know. We have to take a quick break before we do a little pop quiz. What is the best-selling boy band of all time? What's the best-selling boy band of all time? We'll quiz you guys on that when we come back. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM. I'm Tom Campbell, joined by James St. James and John Pauly.
Hi.
We are doing what we always do, counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow! Before the break, I asked a little trivia question. We'll see if you guys know the answer. Question is, what is the best-selling boy band of all time?
Well, obviously you gotta say that it's the Beatles, but I don't think that that's where you were going with that.
This is from Blake. Hello, Blake.
But I'm gonna say if we're talking boy band proper, then it's probably something surprising like Boys to Men or something like that. That I'm not. I would think you think it's like NSYNC or something like
You're
that.
on this.
But
I like
yeah,
it.
I'm gonna say Boys to Men.
John Pauly.
One Direction.
Oh,
Blake. The answer is
The answer is Big Bang from South Korea.
Big Bang.
I love Big Bang. G-Dragon, T.O.P. Oh my God, two of the hottest boys in the planet.
Can we play some Big Bang going out to the commercial?
Yes.
I want to know.
We've also number 2 is Backstreet Boys, number 3 Jackson 5, number 4 New Kids on the Block.
All right. Well,
Five weren't in there. That 5 with the
I love 5.
Right? Yeah.
All right, let's continue with the countdown. We are at number 7.
Number 7.
I don't know what you guys were doing on Saturday night, but I was hanging out with Harry Hamlin and Lisa Rinna.
Wait a minute, were you really?
Kind of. I was in the same room. It's the 35th anniversary of the groundbreaking film Making Love.
Oh my God.
And there was a big screening with the writers and Harry Hamlin on Saturday in Beverly Hills.
Oh, how exciting.
Making Love, for those who don't know, for the youngins, was the first studio film that dealt with homosexuality in an adult way, about relationships, about being closeted, about coming out. and it was released in 1982.
Groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking.
Yes, earth-shaking.
Huge bomb, somewhat maligned by people, and I had never seen it. Have you seen it before?
I have seen it, yes.
Have you seen it before?
I've never seen the whole thing.
No, I was too...
I could wait. I was too young to see it in the theater
Yes.
because I was in Michigan, and if anyone was seen going into the theater for making love, you would be branded a homosexual and be beaten on the spot.
It stars Harry Hamlin as this like writer and this relatively promiscuous, gay guy who has trouble getting close to people. Michael Onctine, who was in The Rookies.
Oh, I thought it was Ankyan.
You're probably right.
Okay.
I'm really
Him
bad
too.
with names. Both of them were in the they do a role. No, and he's both actors are straight. But he plays the married doctor for 8 years who has all these hidden feelings, and he thinks he's experimenting. And he ends up hooking up with Harry Hamlin, and the wife who's being cheated on is Kate Jackson from Charlie's Angels.
Yes.
And Harry gave such incredible insight, and so did the writers. But the writer, I wrote it down because I can't remember anything. It's not here. Oh, A. Scott Berg and Barry Sandler are the writers. It was directed by Arthur Hill, who did Love Story.
Oh, yeah.
So it has kind of that, 10 years later, it has kind of that glossy, romantic thing to it. But it's shot a lot in West Hollywood, the old West Hollywood. There's scenes in the Spike. There's scenes like, walking by old restaurants and clubs and cruising and whatnot. But it really is a love story. It's a love triangle. Kate Jackson never confronts Harry Hamlin, who's sleeping with her husband, but she and some say that she kind of underreacts to it, but it's sort of this romantic thing. Anyway, Harry Hamlin gave this insight that I thought was kind of amazing, which is he was offered the role, which had been offered and turned down by Tom Berenger, Michael Douglas, Harrison Ford, William Hurt, and Peter Strauss. No one would touch
this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And his agent, he said he had just at the time had a baby out of wedlock with his girlfriend Ursula Andress.
Yes, and it was
Oh
right
my God,
after
right.
they had filmed
Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans. Yes,
And he said every tabloid has you on the cover with Ursula Andress. No one's going to think you're gay.
Wait, she had a baby?
Yes, they have a baby.
They have a baby?
They have a baby.
The Hamlin Andresses?
So he decided to do it.
that's a pretty baby.
Michael Onctine. Am I saying it right?
I thought
Onkeen.
Onctine.
Onkeen. Also in Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Okay.
Harry said that Michael wanted to research everything. He's a very different kind of actor.
He's a method actor.
And he said to him, he goes, let's practice the kiss. Because there is this real kiss. And Harry, who's kind of broing out at the screening, but it's okay. He's, because he shows up for these screenings at different anniversaries. He's like, he goes, I think, we should just do it on the set. It should be kind of our first kiss. It'll be kind of magic.
Organic.
Yeah. You're like, Michael, you know how to kiss, don't you? Well, just kiss like that. And then Harry went on to say that he would always invite his leading ladies to his house before they started filming. So he told Michael that, said, do you want to come out to my house and have dinner? So they had dinner, and that's where Michael was like, let's practice the kiss. And Harry was like, not going to happen. But when they finally did kiss, Harry was like, let's just keep our lips just a little bit open. Let's just make it tender kind of thing. And he goes, and they took 2 takes, and supposedly all the studio came down. Everybody at Fox,
of course.
was his first kiss.
Every queen in Hollywood had a reason to show up.
And supposedly Michael Onctine slipped in the tongue twice in 2 different takes. But it's a very tender thing. It's so funny because Victoria had come out that year. Personal Best, which was the lesbian film, came out there. There was another film called Partners.
But very different things because this is 2 men, and it was all that makes all the difference in the world.
But still, there was this one moment in time right before AIDS when we were like, everyone was like, this is a cultural thing. Gays are opening up. We have to tell this story.
No, but I do want to say something that happened that I reminded you of that you don't remember, was when Kate went on to the Tonight Show to promote the movie, right? And it was Kate
Jackson.
So Kate Jackson goes on to the Tonight Show to promote the movie, and Kate Jackson is just coming off of Charlie's Angels. She's one of the biggest stars on the planet. She's huge. Everyone loves her. She comes out. She gets this thunderous reception. She's talking about the movie. Everyone is laughing and joking, everything like that. And she brings up, they say, you're in a new movie, Making Love. Everyone applauds. And she says, it's about 2 gay men, and I'm the wife. And everyone started booing. And it was one of those moments in gay history that every gay man, every gay boy I was watching, and I could not believe the shame that I felt. And it took us back another 20 years that the whole world started booing the idea of a gay movie.
And Blake's moving us on, but the only other thing that one of the writers said is he went to a screening. It was sort of, I guess, marketed for straight audience. It was marketed for straight audiences, and it was marketed for gay audiences. He goes, if you were in a gay theater when the 2 men kiss, which is kind of a tender kiss, everyone applauded. if he said they went to a straight
And people
theater,
walked
and
out.
people, when the kiss happens, which is like 3/4 of the way through the movie, people left the theater like it was
Yep.
the Titanic turning
Yep.
over.
Yeah.
So
I remember seeing this quickly, Death Trap with Christopher Reeve.
Oh,
and Michael
right,
Caine,
sure.
And there's a kiss
Which
in
I
that
just saw that
movie.
recently too. Yeah.
And I was like 8 years old or something, and I was like so excited because it was like a rambunctious. I loved
And it was
Murder by
Christopher
Death,
Reeve.
and I love those kind of like wacky star-studded mystery movies. So that's what I thought I was getting. I had no idea that was going to happen. There's a kissing scene, and I remember in Kingsport, Tennessee, at the mall, and everyone's like, ah,
So
scream,
Even though it was Christopher Reeve.
yeah, which thank God it was Christopher Reeve.
And Rex Harrison, right?
no, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Yeah.
I have so many more stories, but
yes.
we're out of time. So you can see Making Love, rent it, watch it, stream it. It's a piece of history, of gay history. All right, let's move on to number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6. I watched a documentary on Netflix. Surprise! It was another in the series of Sisters, which we talked about a few weeks ago. We did Jackie and Lee Bouvier, and so this is another episode of that. And this is Sisters, the Mitford sisters.
Who the hell are they?
Wow, I'm glad you asked, Tom. The Mitford sisters were sort of the Kardashians of the 20s and 30s.
I'm in. Continue.
Yes, that's the best description I've
Okay,
ever heard. Yes.
they were the entire planet was obsessed with these sisters. There were 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
There was. Hold on one second. There were 6 of them, and they grew up together in this sort of manor home in the middle of nowhere, right?
In England.
In England, yes. They were titled women of a certain generation.
Lord so and so,
Yeah, the Reedsdales, right? I think Lord and Lady Reedsdale, and they didn't have any contact with the outside world, so they grew up all together, and they created their own little languages and their own little private jokes and everything that they carried with them all their lives. And they each had like 10 different nicknames. They were sort of wacky. But the interesting thing about them is that each one of the 6 sisters went off in wildly divergent paths, okay? There was Diana, who was the oldest and the most beautiful, and she married Sir Robert Oswald, who was the head of the fascist party in England, okay? And she was a fascist during World War II, and she ended up going to prison and everything like that, but she was gorgeous and brittle and nasty, and she was just a real piece of work. There was Nancy Mitford, who became a lady authoress, and she was sort of like the Dorothy Parker of England, and she wrote these howlingly funny books about British upper class, right? Then there was Pamela, who became sort of a housefrau. She was sort of a frumpy woman.
Wow.
There was Unity, who became
Unity's a great
Unity Mitford, who was one of Hitler's groupies, and she would go and follow Hitler around wherever he was, and he sort of let her into his inner circle, and she was just like a fangirl for Hitler, right?
Yes.
Then there was Jessica, who became a communist and moved to America and ended up working for civil rights and gay rights well into the 80s and 90s in San Francisco. Really a wonderful
And she
woman.
was running around with Evelyn Waugh, and they were all like pals with all the
Yes,
writers
right.
and actors.
she ended up writing some books too. She wrote
you
American
seen
Way
this?
of Death. No, but he's a Mitford.
But I know all about them. I've
Yeah.
read the books. I've read their
There's
biographies.
hundreds
my
of books.
goodness.
I have every
Obsessed.
Mitford book there is. They
Yes.
wrote these letters back and forth. Prolific letter
Yes.
writers. Okay, in the last one, Debo, the youngest one, Deborah, became the Duchess of Devonshire, and she ended up being the first lady of Chatsworth, which is the largest manor home in England. It's
Yes, it's
huge,
stunning.
and she's still around. And she started writing in her 70s and 80s. And she just wrote a book called Counting My Chickens. Right,
Right.
now, the 2 Mitfords that I'm obsessed with are Nancy, of course, the Dorothy Parker one,
Yeah.
and Debo, who is the Duchess. Right. But this movie, this documentary, focuses on Diana and Jessica, the fascist and the communist, and how divergent they were and how completely different their politics were. And it's interesting that they chose these 2 because the women, the Mitfords, sort of encapsulate everything about mid-century, the world of the 20th century. You know, the politics and the family dynamics and fame and everything. They're at every strata of society. And for them to choose the political bent of Diana and Jessica is very odd to me, but it sort of speaks to the time that we're in. And it's a way into the Mitfords that if you don't know anything about the Mitford family, this is a good way to start. And then you can read, there's a new book that just came out within the last 6 months about the
God.
Mitfords, and it's called The Sisters or something like
Yeah.
that. They're all called The Sisters.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but they're absolutely
Has there
hysterical.
ever been a movie?
There have
They made the film The Loved One with John Gielgud and Liberace and Robert Morse,
Oh,
set
right.
in 60s Los Angeles basically about Forest Lawn.
Right.
But it was based on The American Way of Death, which was a book by Jessica Mitford.
And she exposed the funeral industry.
the
She's
how
the
she-
communist one.
Yes.
But also Nancy had written 2 books called The Pursuit of Love and Love in a Cold Climate about growing up as they're sort of like thinly veiled stories about their childhood.
Yes. And it's like-
and they have been made into movies.
Yeah, it's
so
like everything you want from something like Downton Abbey
It's
or
very
Bridesmaid
Downton
Revisited,
Abbey.
but rollicking, silly, almost slapsticky, but like very smart and witty, like quips, and just this mad big families in their crazy British life.
yeah, it's absolutely fascinating people. And
What's the name again of it?
It's Sisters, and it's the Mitford Sisters
On Netflix.
On Netflix. Yes.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to number 5.
Number 5.
Oh my goodness! So. From Mitford Sisters to Drag Sisters? That's not even a transition. Whatever. Anyway, this past week was the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 9.
Last Friday night was amazing.
It was. I was in a bar downtown watching. People were losing their minds because it all came down to this season has been a big season. It's hard to even know where to start.
What a season.
But it came down to like the 4 finalists and a lip sync competition, a lip sync for the crown,
Which could not be
tournament.
a tournament.
It
Like
could not be
Straight
more.
people told me that. A
yes.
tournament.
It was like March Madness in
Yes.
June with drag queens.
Yes.
Yes.
It could not be more appropriate because this is what drag queens are known for.
Yes.
It is more drag than we've seen on Drag Race ever. I think it was just
Yes.
it was absolutely perfect. It was it was great television. It was a great moment.
And it's hard to even put it in context because we're so ingrained in it. But
Just the one. It's like people don't know. At the end of every Drag Race episode, the bottom 2 have to lip sync for their life, side by side, and the one who does the better job and commits to it and does splits and jumps and whatever, they are saved. So then this season there were a lot of bad lip syncs for your life. So Rue turned up the notch. Sorry.
yes. So it really came down to like who could perform on stage, boom, in the moment, and make the audience go crazy and just wow us all. And so there were 4 finalists. 2 competed, 1 proceeded. 2 more others, competed, and then you came with 2 finalists. And it was shocking. It was kind of upsets. My boyfriend and his sister came to the taping, and they were like, "Oh man!" They've been watching for seasons, and they were just like, because it was like the one you thought was going to win necessarily didn't. But it was beautiful because they were all just like staggeringly gorgeous. Sasha Velour was crowned the queen.
And that was crazy because I'd been hearing you hear little whispers in the office, and you heard how fantastic Sasha had done because this was taped a little bit beforehand.
Yep.
And I kept thinking, there's no way Sasha's going to win. She was sort of the dark horse of the competition because she's an intellectual. She's very.
She's a bald queen with
and we've never had
Frida Kahlo brow.
Yeah, we've never had anything like that on the show. So it came as a shock to me.
It came as a shock. She performed amazingly. There were like rose petals flying across stage, coming out from wigs, and it really just brought the house down. And it showed you like this show is about surprises. It's about performing, and anyone can rise to the top, and when it's their time. What's been fun to watch since is like the explosion of press. I mean, the show more viewers than ever, the biggest finale ever. On VH1, the biggest ever, and just this media wave of Sasha Velour attention, which always happens with every winner. But it's interesting because she's like a smart intellectual queen for our times. People are like. I don't want to say they're reading more into it than is there, but it just speaks to like what we need, what people are looking for.
But the narrative switches with the winner. It's like Trump, right? It's like Sasha wins, and suddenly it defines the season. We kind of look at the season backwards in a whole different way.
But also, this whole season has just been building and building and building with Rue's having a year like she's never had before, and all of a sudden this year I'm noticing that it's Vogue, it's Vanity Fair, it's Women's Wear Daily, it's Harper's Bazaar, it's a lot of things that in the past were maybe it was a little out of their league, but now all of a sudden we have risen to the level.
And outside this window is literally the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and there's a blank star, and it was announced. I hope it's going to be this star.
Yeah,
that RuPaul's going to get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes,
and more deserved. Nobody is more deserving.
Work for it.
My favorite thing I did see about Drag Race though was like a list of famous Fulbright scholars. Fulbright scholars have gone on to be receive the Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prizes, but only one has won RuPaul's Drag Race. Sasha Velour.
America's Next Drag Superstar. That's an amazing stat. All right, we have to take a little break before we do a Harry Hamlin, Lisa Rinna trivia question.
Oh.
Okay, when they, what talk show were they on when their store Belle Gray was robbed in 2010? Harry Hamlin and his wife Lisa Rinna were on a talk show as their store Belle Gray was being robbed. We'll have the answer when we come back from this break. You are listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
We're back. It's the Wow Report. I'm Tom Campbell here with James St. James and John Pauly, and we continue to count down this week's top 10 things that made us go, wow! Before the break, we had a little pop quiz. Harry Hamlin, Lisa Rinna were on what talk show when their store Belle Gray was being robbed in 2010?
Well, I'm going to say it was Regis and Kelly because it had to have been during the daytime.
Nice guess.
I was going to say The View, basically for the same reason.
Nice
Okay.
guess. It was the Today Show. Am I right, Blake?
Oh.
Hi, Blake. I'm so sorry. Blake's over there, and I keep saying hi, Blake.
Yes, it was the Today Show with Kathy Lee and Hoda Kotb.
Oh, it was the 4th hour of the Today Show.
And they had this moment where they were like, excuse me, we need to take this call. I think they were promoting their show on TV Land. So it was a little shameless, and I don't mind.
No.
We were just saying how much you love Harry and
Lisa. I love Lisa.
I was saying that Lisa always gives good TV. She knows what she's doing.
They were so cute at the screening of Making Love. So they came in and they kind of had the hair and the little leather jackets and jeans. I just love them. Anyway, we should continue the countdown. We are at number 4.
Number 4.
It was released this week that Circus of Books, a WeHo institution, basically a dirty bookstore
Yes.
that is so much more to gay people, is closing its doors in December. It's been owned by the same couple, Karen and Barry Mason, who are observant Jews. There's a picture of them that they're just so cute. And they have this great attitude about it. They're like, it's an end of an era because of gay hookups sites. Well, let me put it in context, first of all. Circus of Books has regular magazines and regular newspapers.
And regular books.
And regular books.
Yeah.
It also has, through these like swinging saloon doors, all this porn. Straight, gay, and in between. And, we forget at a certain, we have the internet now. We have access to porn. We have access to videos. We have access to pictures. Before they talk about Mr. Mason, Barry Mason, was like an inventor of medical supplies. And he was doing well. And then it sort of went south. And his wife, 30 or more years ago, saw an ad from Larry Flint looking for distributors of Hustler. So he became like a guy who delivered porn magazines to different outlets, and they went to the Circus of Books, and the owner, I guess, was about to lose the place, the original owner, because he had a coke problem, and so Barry,
God bless the 70s, right?
Barry and Karen got on the lease and took it over, and have been doing it. And they're behind it, across the street, there's the Gold Coast, one of your favorite places, and there's these parking meters, and it's called Vaseline Alley, and it's between La Jolla and I think Havenhurst, and that's where, before apps, that's where I would go to cruise guys, to meet guys, to see
I've been to
people.
Vaseline Alley, I'm sure, yeah.
You're lonely, you're walking, and they were totally aware of that. They said, we kept our nose clean of it, but it was a meeting place.
Well, the article was sort of interesting because they talk about the first time they brought a Blue Boy magazine in. Yeah, and Blue Boy was an early gay porn
the first
magazine.
mainstream porn magazine. It was sort of classy.
And when they brought it, they said there was a line of like 100 gay men when they realized that they were onto something there, and they realized that maybe they should like befriend the gay community because they would always be there for them, and we have always been there for them. And there's another Circus of Books that was over in Silver Lake.
At one point they had spread out and they've all closed, but this was the main ship, and it was still there and still hanging on.
And it was a community center. It was a place for in the 70s and 80s where everyone went and you waited for the gay porn. And it was a real sort of
or you
cultural.
just knew to go pick up your Frontiers magazine or your whatever.
But they were always a friend to the gay
cleaner.
culture, and all through the AIDS epidemic and everything. It was sort of a place where you knew that you would go, and it was like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
And what was the best about it? In the front case, they had all this VCR cleaner.
Oh,
Very important.
which is code
for poppers.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. I have to say, there's some shame that used to be, because I used to cruise around there, and you know, there was that separate life, right? I'm this way during the day, and I kind of go there at night and let my hair down. And
You had hair?
yeah, I know. And I once ran into somebody who works at World of Wonder there. Not when I worked at World of Wonder, but you know, like it was weird for me. It's just fun because I look back on it, and it is an institution. There was nothing to be ashamed of.
You ran into someone from World of Wonder in the alley or in the bookstore?
In the alley.
Ooh.
I mean, to me, Circus of Books was about going into the bookstore, going into the alley, going into the like you had to keep moving so the police wouldn't.
I almost moved in an apartment in that building when I was young, 20-something, and looking for apartments in West Hollywood. And I went, and it was in the top of the building on the 4th floor, I think. And it was on the back corner, and it was a beautiful little studio apartment. Sunshine beaming in, windows in the corner.
And you had a view of Vesely Alley?
Yes, and I didn't.
That's where I met you.
Why would you not take it?
And it was like it was so cheap for like a studio, and it was really cute. But I ended up living in someone's dining, 4 blocks down for like $80 a month.
Hey,
like you do.
Good.
But
good
I like,
good price.
I always think of the person I could have become.
You could have just had a pair of binoculars, and we never would have seen you again.
Rope ladder.
But the internet has taken away our need for newsstands. Has taken away our need for buying pornography. I went on Saturday. I parked.
Oh.
I went in, and it's sort of empty. And there's some guy, some older guy working there forever. And I'm like, I'm just here for the memories and the smells. And he was just like, we're not closed until December. So if you're in West Hollywood, if you have a memory, go see Circus of Books. It's on Santa Monica and La Jolla.
Yeah.
And I do believe that they're still one of the only places in the world that has a copy of Party Monster still prominently displayed. So I love them for that.
Well, a friend of mine is working on a documentary film about the owners and it's about the stores. So I'm excited to see how that goes and what when that comes out. If it's in the works or whatever.
Isn't that their daughter?
They're part of it. The daughter is part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
that's great. Circus of Books. We'll miss you.
Yes.
Number 3, James.
Number 3.
Number 3, I went to go see The Beguiled last night. Sofia Coppola, the new movie set in the Civil War era. It's 1960 or. It's set in 1864, I believe. It's interesting because Sofia's doing that thing that Kubrick did with Barry Lyndon, where it's all natural light. She's using no 20th century lighting techniques. It's all moonlight and candlelight and sun-dappled weeping willow trees and the sun coming through the Spanish moss.
Nice.
And it's all like a memory. It's all beautifully, beautifully shot.
I never have a complaint about her visual style. She's an incredible visualist. It tends to be the plot moving forward. Is this does this grip you, or what's it like?
Well, I'll tell you. It's it takes place in an old plantation home that has been converted into a school for girls.
An Airbnb.
Yeah. And Nicole,
it's a period piece.
Yeah, and Nicole Kidman is doing her sort of emotionally reserved. You can't read anything on her face because, of course, she's got 21st century Botox.
Dare you.
But so there's it's the school for girls. There's Elle Fanning. There's Kirsten Dunst, and one of the younger girls finds this wounded Union soldier in the woods, and she brings him back home, and it's Colin Farrell. The enemy. It's Colin Farrell, and he's got a leg problem, and exactly. And Nicole sort of sponges him off, and she's sort of going lower and lower, and the girls are all roiling with hormones, and you feel like the girls all start dressing up a little more, and they all start curling their hair, and they all start giggling and running around and singing songs and everything.
They're beguiled.
They're beguiled, and you can see Colin start to play the girls against each other, and the girls start sneaking in at night saying, "I got you some figgy pudding, sir." And they all, "Would you mind if I prayed with you?" And then they'll sort of let a shoulder down or something like that. And eventually he goes and he's trying to seduce Kirsten Dunst and getting him to take her away with him so that he won't be taken into prison or whatever when they come. And then he goes and starts fucking with Elle Fanning, and Kirsten walks in, and suffice to say, they decide to do something with him. Nicole decides to stop him in his tracks, and it sort of takes this whole other. It goes into sort of a horror mode, kind of a little bit of a horror mode.
Fun.
It's a little Boxing Helena, if you remember Boxing Helena.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything more, but
So it sounds good.
It is good. It does take a long while to get there, but like you said, the visual is always so there with Sofia that it's fantastic. And Colin Farrell is just still so dreamy.
Well, I read something. There was a little piece in, I think, in Out Magazine, and Michael Musto was talking to John Waters, who had, and he went to a John Waters and Sofia Coppola like panel at the Provincetown Film Festival, and the two of them were just like getting on like a house of fire. And she said, Sofia Coppola said that like all the women on the set were like gaga for Colin Farrell. Even all these actresses, they were just like, he was there, and they were all just kind of giddy and blushing. And it's nice to know that a movie star still carries that kind of like, woo, heat around him.
He really does. And he's, I was trying to remember when we first saw Colin Farrell, what his first movie was.
I just remember the sex tape.
Right, yeah.
It starts and ends there
but
for me.
I feel like it's been almost 20 years.
It's been a long time, yeah.
And he's
been around.
still even
Stunning.
more handsome now.
Yeah.
And he just plays to the camera, and he plays to these women, and you really do see even like the 10-year-old girl is wearing like little pearl earrings, and you can see that she really is smitten with him.
Yes.
It's absolutely fascinating. It's only open in like 4 theaters, I believe, across the. It's opening bigger later next week, but
All right.
fascinating.
The Beguiled, catch it in theaters when it comes to you. Let's move on to number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay, this is a book I've just started reading. I'm not going to pretend I've read the whole thing. This is not like my college English classes. But I was turned on to it. It is a book called West of Eden.
How is that even possible? What does that even mean? West of Eden.
West of
Not
Eden.
East of Eden, but West of Eden.
By Jean Stein, who's a woman you may remember co-authored Edie.
And she just killed herself.
And she just killed herself. And like, so
She just jumped out of a window.
Spoiler alert. Yes. So she wrote this story based on like her. She grew up in this prominent family. Her father was Jules Stein, not the composer, but another music individual. I don't think. I'm trying to figure this out. But he was a music executive, and they lived in Hollywood. They lived in New York. They ran with all the big deals. Like when. Yes.
No, but she was real high society.
Yes,
and when she recently jumped out of her penthouse on the Upper East Side, it was a big sort of society scandal because she was beloved by everyone.
She was like as a youth, she went to Paris and she had an affair with William Faulkner. She wrote for the Paris Review. She was an assistant to Elia Kazan, the director.
So it all comes around in a big bow.
This is all planned, people.
And now her daughter is Katrina vanden Heuvel, who's the editor and publisher of The Nation.
I love the Vanden Heuvels, darling.
A family of letters. Anyway, so she's this prominent, intensely, like,
And she wrote Edie back in 1980, which was one of those seminal books in my life.
That was my first dip into the Warhol
So
world.
she's fascinating already. Also, final note on her, when she did kill herself, she was in the same apartment, living in the same apartment that Anderson Cooper's brother, Wyatt, I believe.
No, Wyatt's the father.
But I think, anyway, Anderson Cooper's brother wasn't living in the same apartment. It's levels and layers of all kinds of.
And it was, if you remember, when Gloria saw him leap off of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So West of Eden is about Los Angeles and showbiz and the oil industry. It starts with Edward Doheny. We know Doheny Drive in West Hollywood. Mm-hmm. He was a big oil man. I think one of his characters in There Will Be Blood is basically about his story as an aggressive oil man.
Yes.
And so it takes these families, and Jack Warner it tells the story to all these like preeminent Los Angelinos who formed the city over the last century. And it's dishy and juicy. There's like, Betty, and she talks about coming home and Betty Davis is in her living room. And so all these just like pulpy stories, which I'm dying to get into. A friend recommended it to me. I just got it. And already I'm on page 12.
That spine is very smooth.
I know. But it sounds riveting. And it's told in the same way of like people just chiming in with stories, like the Edie Sedgwick biography, where you hear just voice after voice after voice. And I can only say good things. I've only started. It's got a Joan Didion blurb.
Oh, you can't get better than Joan.
So now we know what you'll be reading on the beach this summer.
Exactly. Summer reading.
Carter Cooper was the brother.
Carter, thank you.
Rest in peace. All right, that's West of Eden, available on Amazon.
Yes.
Where else? Not in Circus of Books anymore.
No.
All right, we have to take a quick break. When we come back, Resistor of the Week, and we reveal the number one thing that made us go, wow! You're listening to Radio Andy, SiriusXM, The Wow Report.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We're We're back. It's the WoW Report on Radio Andy SiriusXM. I'm Tom Campbell. I'm here with James St. James and John Pauly, and we were about to reveal the number one thing that made us go wow this week. James St. James.
Number 1.
Well, I just got back from San Francisco. Woo! I went to the Frameline Festival, which is a queer festival that they do every year. It's something that World of Wonder has been involved with for many, many years. Party Monster, I think, debuted there.
Wonderful.
We've had a bunch of movies there. This time, it was about me.
Yay!
It was my book Freak Show that got its North American premiere there. I do want to say that there were a bunch of movies that were really fascinating. I didn't get a chance to see any of them, but I got a chance to meet a lot of the people behind them. There was The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson premiered there, which is going to Netflix, about the great drag queen at Stonewall. Really fascinating. My Friend Dahmer premiered there, which is about Jeffrey Dahmer in high school. It's played by Ross Matthews.
Ross Matthews.
Yes.
Ross Matthews is Jeffrey Dahmer.
Ross Mitchell, I
Teen
believe.
Beach Movie.
Teen Beach Movie. Yes,
Yes.
He's a Disney star who is doing
the blondie one?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I love him, and
It
he's
looks
trying to go. He's going for more meteor roles now. But Todrick Hall, Behind the Curtain. Todrick Hall has a movie there.
I did not know.
It's about Todrick's journey when he first started making the Oz one. What is that?
Straight Out of Oz.
Yeah, Straight Out of Oz. That's it.
is fascinating.
And it's sort of the behind the scenes of that. So Todrick was there.
I feel the need to direct you. I want to know more about your movie.
Well, wait. I want to say real quick.
All right.
There's 3 other movies that there's Alaska is a Drag, which is not about Alaska Thunderfuck. No, it's about the Alaskan drag scene, which is it's absolutely fascinating. And 2 movies which are getting a lot of buzz. One is called God's Own Country, which they say is the next Brokeback, and watch it come Oscar time. People are going bananas for this. And another one is called Handsome Devil, that takes place at a boarding school in England, and it's really, really hot, right? Anyway, this is
your
my
movie.
movie.
Your book. You
Yes,
wrote a
I know,
book.
I'm sorry. I wrote a book a long time ago. It took 10 years to make it to the screen.
Amazing.
It stars Bette Midler, Laverne Cox, Abigail Breslin is in it. Alex Lothar, who plays the me character, absolutely fantastic. It's a role that will define him for generations to come. It's a breakthrough role. It's really a star-making role.
What's it called?
It's called Freak Show. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to help you through this. And what's it about?
It's about this. Well, it's funny because when I wrote it, it was about this little drag queen who's sort of beaten up in high school, and he runs for a prom queen, right? And at the time, that was science fiction. That hadn't been happening, and since then, it's happened an awful lot. And the whole idea of like the bathroom bills and everything like that. When I wrote it, it seems more relevant now in the Trumpian era than it was. And the audience really got that. I was really nervous. I went with Trudy, who's
the director?
Trudy Styler, Sting's wife. She is a force of nature, right?
Yeah.
This movie had been bouncing around for like 10 years trying to find a home. It went to Flower Films, which is Drew Barrymore,
Right.
and Flower partnered with Maven, who is Trudy Styler. And we had another director, and when he fell out, Trudy said, I think I want to try directing.
God bless you,
And the
Trudy.
minute Trudy said it, it just happened. Like 2 months later, we were filming. Like this woman gets shit done.
Yeah,
okay.
girl.
Well, so she arrives, right, and she is wearing this pink lame Gucci that is one big accordion ruffle print, going all the way
At the
down.
film festival in
At
San
the film
Francisco.
festival, right? She's wearing these diamond Dior shoes, and when she gets up on stage to introduce the movie, that's Pink Saturday, right? The day before Gay Pride in San Francisco. We were so nervous that nobody was going to come because we thought what San Francisco audiences we didn't know.
Right.
There was a line going around the block. It was standing room only. The Castro Theater, one of the biggest theaters in the country.
Where else would you ever want your movie to
Exactly.
premiere?
2 levels, it's standing room only, and the audience is just rapturous, just absolutely wonderful. She gets up on stage to do it. The spotlight hits her, and it's like a giant pink disco ball. The audience gasped, and from that moment, she had them eating out of her hand. She has a very sort of posh British accent. She knows everybody in England. She knows everybody everywhere.
When will we be able to see your movie, Freak
Well,
Show?
It's actually coming to the Outfest here in 2 weeks, and then it will be at the Outfest in New York. It's doing a Czechoslovakian one, but it just got picked up by IFC Films for distribution.
Wonderful.
So it will premiere in 7 cities, then it goes to the IFC channel, and then they just made a Netflix deal, so it will get a wider release.
I can't wait to see it. Can we go to the Outfest? Do you have extra tickets? I'll pay. I'll do anything.
Hopefully. But the interesting, because I was really worried about it, and I didn't know how people would react and everything like that. But the audience, I mean, they laughed in all the right places. They applauded. It was like a big standing ovation at the end of it, and it was just an exciting thing, and I loved every minute of it.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm so excited for you, James.
Thank
That's
you.
so
Thank
wonderful.
you.
All right, we're going to our Resistor of the Week really quickly as we're running out of time. It is a HuffPo contributor, Kayla Chadwick. And she has an article. You can look up, and we'll have a link on worldofwonder.net. And the headline is, I don't know how to explain to you that you should care about other people.
Well, why should I care about other people?
This is about healthcare. And I'm not doing this out of a self-righteous point of view. This is just, I thought it so perfectly sums up my frustration with people who don't want health care for everyone. And there's 2 paragraphs and we'll get out. She says, I can't debate someone into caring about what happens to their fellow human beings. The fact that such detached cruelty is so normalized in certain parties' political discourse is at once infuriating and terrifying. The I've got mine, so screw you attitude has been oozing from the American right wing for decades. But this gleeful exuberance in pushing legislation that will immediately hurt the most vulnerable among us is chilling.
How can they, when they realize that they're up for a re-election, how, I guess because it doesn't start happening till 2020.
And Democrats are flawed, and Democrats are, but there's some goodness behind the legislation from the liberal side. Anyway, an attempt. Maybe a flawed one, but an attempt. That's all the time we have. Watch $1 Million Listing every Thursday at 9 p.m. on Bravo. Come back and listen to us, watch us, love your children, kiss someone who's important to you, and by all means, go out and do something that makes the world go, wow!